Hey guys, it's Randy with Lowbuck LS here again, coming back after a bit of a hiatus, but just wanted to shoot a quick update of what I've been doing on my Suburban project here since I shot the last video. We had a big day yesterday. We took it up to Jesse at JKS Automotive and had the safety inspection done for the insurance, and it passed, so it is now road legal and we can start taking it out and about. We're gonna start off close to home until we're sure that it's reliable, but we're legal to be out on the highways now anyways. The only issue he found is on that wheel right there. The rear wheel cylinder that pushes the brake drums out against the brake shoes was leaking a little bit, so we're gonna get that fixed up. But let me just do a little walk around here. I'll show you what we've done to the Suburban since the last video, and I'm also gonna show you two reasons why I still want to LS swap this thing, even though we've got that 383 crate engine running fairly decently. I still want to go ahead with that LS swap, and I will show you why. I'll show you one reason fairly soon here, and the other reason we'll wait till the end of the video to show you. So we'll do a quick walk around here, and then we're going to take this thing out and do some 4x4ing and see how it does off-road. So one other thing I wanted to mention, Jesse, the mechanic who did the inspection on the Suburban here, he's actually got a YouTube channel as well, so they've got a couple cool projects on there. He's got an old 51 Dodge that they've fixed up, and then they just recently did a LS swap on an old square body Chevy, complete with the Holly Terminator install and stuff. So go check out his channel as well. It's called Sandin Brothers. I'll put a link below in the description. And now let's do a walk around, and I'll show you what we've done on the Suburban. All right, so starting out under the hood here, what we've done since the last video, I've installed that Summit Racing 600 CFM carburetor, air cleaner. I've put a new distributor. The light's not very good back in there, but you can see a new HEI distributor. I've put a serpentine belt system from a 98 Chevy truck, 4.3 liter V6, bolts right on here. We've got the charging system working now. That alternator is actually a AD244, which is a newer alternator off of like an LS engine. So that will help when we put a winch on the front of this thing and it's idling. This alternator puts out a lot better voltage at idle than the old CS 130 that came with the truck. We also put mounted the radiator the way it's supposed to be mounted. You might remember in the old videos I had an old busted up coolant overflow bottle sitting here. I've got rid of that, and I've put a coolant overflow bottle right there. We've got the fan shroud back in. I put the proper fan on it. The fan that was on here actually rotated the wrong way. It was blowing air out through the front of the truck, and it needs to be sucking air through the radiator. So we took the clutch fan off of, I believe it was a 95 OBS Chevy with a 6.5 diesel. So it's a nice 6-blade clutch fan that bolts right in. I think that's about it under the hood. We also got a new front drive shaft from Pat's Driveline there. So we've got a functional 4-wheel drive now. Also in the interior of the truck, cleaned it out, and we've got the bench seat reinstalled in the back. Looking into the back there, we hosed it all out. The nice thing is it's got this Rhino liner in it, so you can just take it to the car wash and hop right in and spray it all out. So that's about it for what we've done since the last video. Now I'm going to demonstrate for you one of the big reasons why I still want to do the LS swap, so stand by. Alright guys, so I just wanted to demonstrate one of the main reasons why I still want to do an LS swap on this Suburban, even though we've got it running decently with the old 383 crate engine. One of the modifications I've done since the last video is I've installed this new carburetor. It is the Summit Racing 600 CFM vacuum secondary, and it's a great carburetor, but it doesn't have any of the fancy, like back when cars were transitioning from carburetors to EFI, some of the later carburetors had like fast idle solenoids, and this does have an electric choke. Over on this side here, you can see that black actuator thingy there is the electric choke, but it still doesn't start great in the cold. Even though it's like April 12th today, it's still basically right around 0 degrees. You can still see some snow sitting on the bumper and a little bit on the ground there. I was talking to my brother in Ontario and it was like 18 or 19 degrees there yesterday, so I'm a little jealous. But let me show you how this thing starts when it's cold. It's about 0 degrees Celsius here right now, so let me hop inside and we'll do a cold start on this thing. All right, so this is what a cold start is like with an old school small block Chevy with a carburetor on it. You gotta pump the gas pedal a bunch of times, and then it starts and dies, and you kind of gotta feather the throttle a bunch of times to try and keep it running. Even after that amount of time, it won't stay running without a bit of foot on the throttle. So that's one of the main reasons I still want to swap to an LS, is once you go to fuel injection, that gets rid of all that cold start problems. The sensors in the engine measure what the temperature is and what the air density and all that is, and feed that information into the computer, and you should have a lot better cold starting. All right, so now we are actually going to take this thing out and take it for its first trip off-road and see how it does. So just figured I'd chat a little bit as we're rolling down the road to our secret off-road testing location. So I'm actually taking some training on how to become a better YouTuber, and one of the things they focus on is adding elements of story and telling stories with your videos. So that's kind of got me thinking about the history of this old Suburban and the life it's had. I think I mentioned it in some previous videos, but this vehicle actually started out as an ambulance at an industrial chemical plant close to where we live here in Alberta, Canada. You know, that's got me wondering, like, how many patients rode to the hospital in this old truck? Did anybody get their life saved while they were in the back of this thing? Or did anybody die in this vehicle? Like, it just gets the wheels turning. And then eventually it retired from ambulance duty, and a guy bought it and started fixing it up the way it is now. He put the lift kit on and started swapping in this 383 stroker engine that's in it, and he actually ended up getting cancer and couldn't finish the project, so it sat for a lot of years, like from the tag that I showed in an earlier video with the crate engine. That crate engine is actually 18 years old, but I don't know, that engine may have sat on the shelf, so maybe this thing only sat for 12 years or 15 years or something. But anyways, it sat for a long time and ended up getting water in the engine and getting seized up, and now we bought it late last year, and so it's pretty cool to know that it's gone from sitting neglected and being all seized up to now actually being street legal, and we're driving it down the road, and eventually we're gonna rig it up for camping and hopefully take it up to the Yukon and Alaska. And there's a bit of a personal connection there for me, but I'll save that for another video. But it's pretty cool that this thing is transformed from being a no good vehicle sitting in basically a vacant lot in an industrial area, and now we've actually brought it back to life and are driving it down the road, so that's pretty cool. So we'll shut off the camera for now and fire it up again when we're ready to do some off-roading. Alright, so we are out here at our top secret 4x4 testing location, which is actually only like 15 minutes out of Red Deer. So but this old truck still has the manual transfer case, so we are going to put that, we got to shift into neutral, I'm going to put that into 4 low, and then we got to hop out and walk the hubs. I've got some assistants with me here today too, my kids Ryan and Kaylin. I'm just going to hop out of the truck and we'll lock in those hubs. So yeah, like I mentioned, these are manual locking hubs, so we've got to turn them. Right now they're in the free position. Turn them over to lock. We'll go around and do the one on the other side. Same thing, move it from free to lock. And let's hop in and do some off-roading. Alright, so the way things go in off-roading, we've got our first problem. We went through that big mud hole right there, and something sounded weird, and then I noticed the alternator wasn't charging, and we have broken our serpentine belt, which wasn't in the greatest shape to begin with, but that turns the alternator on the water pump, which charges the battery and keeps the engine cool. So unfortunately, I have brought my children out to the woods and we are now stranded. So we're gonna have to call for help. So that didn't go as expected, but we might try limp this thing back to the road just so my wife can come and rescue us, and she will be thrilled, I'm sure. All right, guys, just to give you an update, we've got bigger problems than I thought. We basically limped it out. That's the trail we came out of there where we broke our serpentine belt. So I got it out to this point, which is where my wife was able to drive up with our Durango. So we limped it out here just by running it for a minute and then letting it cool down for a good while, and then once it was cool, fire it up again and drive it for a minute or so, and slowly got it limped out here. And then I got a ride back to town to get a new serpentine belt, which I got here. And unfortunately, I went to put it on, and I did get it put on successfully, and went to start it up. Let me just climb up here so we can see in the engine bay. The whole cooling fan and water pump pulley assembly came off of the water pump shaft, and if I turn that shaft, it sounds all rough and wants to bind up. So basically we've got bigger problems now. I tried putting that pulley back on that shaft and it won't stay on there, and so as soon as I tried to start it up with that new serpentine belt on there, the fan basically fell off and ended up, hang on, let me climb down here. Ended up coming through the bottom part of the, you can see the pieces of the fan shroud here that the fan busted through. So basically at this point, my options are go back to town and get a new water pump and pulley, but I think I'm just gonna continue on with the way I got it out of here, and just run it for a minute until the temperature gauge comes up, and then it's stone cold now because we've gone to town and got the parts and stuff. So I think I'm just gonna try limp it home a mile at a time or so and let it cool down in between driving sessions. So we're gonna slowly start making our way back home. All right, guys, we made it home. It was slow and painful. Took about 2 hours of driving for 30 seconds and then stopping for 5 or 10 minutes to let the engine cool down. But we finally made it back to the driveway. So apparently we got more work to do on the old Suburban. Now we're gonna have to do a water pump and figure out what we're gonna do with that fan. Maybe that clutch fan from that 6.5 liter diesel that I hung on the front of the water pump is too heavy or something, or maybe the water pump was just old and bearings were worn out. But I think we're going to put a new water pump on and then maybe go with an electric fan, and then we've got a bunch of other projects to do on the Suburban as well. But before I end the video, I promised I was going to show you guys the other reason that I want to LS swap this thing. So I'm just gonna fire it up again. I can only run it for a few seconds because of the water pump issue, but I'm gonna show you why an LS would be better than this 383 small block Chevy that's in here right now. So hang on. So I've got it fired up there, and this is what happens when I go to shut it off. It like diesels and runs on, and I think that might be because of the water that was in the engine. I think there might be some deposits on top of the piston or something that are causing that. Basically, when I shut off the spark, there's something in that combustion chamber that is hot, that is continuing to ignite the fuel and wanting it to not shut off. So we are eventually going to go ahead with that LS swap, but for now we're just going to fix up that water pump and make a spare tire carrier for the back and a few other odds and ends. But that's going to be all for this one. Just wanted to give you guys an update, and thanks for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe, and we'll talk to you on the next one. Bye for now.